It would be good to accept the moderator and me and rest of the people mute your phone. Just close your eyes. Either you're sitting on couch or on chair or anywhere. Just relax and let it go all the burdens. Allow yourself to relax. Just be with your breathing. Take a few long in breath and slow out breath. Focusing attention to the sound of my voice, the sounds of surroundings. And take a mental note to yourself. I'm grateful to the water. Say mentally, I'm grateful to the earth. I'm grateful to the air that I'm breathing. I'm grateful to the fire. I'm grateful to the sun. I'm grateful to the moon. I'm grateful to my parents. I'm grateful to my mother. I'm grateful to my fathers. I'm grateful to my sister. I'm grateful to my brother. I'm grateful to the animals. I'm grateful to the cat. I'm grateful to dogs. I'm grateful to everything I have. I'm grateful that I received so much love. I'm grateful to the kindness. I'm grateful to the compassion that I receive from everyone, not just from our parents or relatives. I'm grateful that I have everything. I'm grateful to my own body. And I'm grateful to my own mind. I'm grateful that I'm alive. I owe to everything, including myself. Okay, now you can open your eyes. This is the little note to ourselves. I just want to share with my little Dharma friends, little children, because and this is the teaching that I receive from my teachers also. Even the smallest thing that we should be very, very grateful. Things that we receive, things that we do, or things that we give also. So the gratitude and being grateful, or to be grateful to everything, is one of the central teachings of Buddhism. And today, and I believe today is the Mother's Day, is it? Or yes, I think today is Mother's Day. So so I thought it would be good. So what does the teachings of the Buddha talks about? To grateful to our parents, to our mom, to our father. Since today is the Mother's Day, and I want my little friends that I know the times are different. Some of them are probably in India, others in the US. Pay little respect to your mom today. And if you're old enough, maybe write some notes for your mom. And do something for your mom too. You don't have to do actually for parents. Parents already know. Once you were born, parents are already happy. Parents are always grateful to you also, that being you are the children of their life. And for children also, you should be also very grateful to the parents that everything you have. So there are two people in this world are very, very difficult to find. That's one of the teachings of the Buddha. He said that there are two people very hard, very difficult to find. Those two people are the first person who practice the active kindness, who always practice kindness, the first person. And second person is who is grateful and very much thankful for a kindness that he received from the person. These two are very, very, very rare to find in this world. So as a Buddhist, and we need to be very mindful also to practice the kindness and also to be grateful to the kindness. Now with that, I will tell you the stories. When I was, it was a story, I don't know from where, probably in somewhere in Southeast Asia, either in Thailand or Laos, Cambodia. There was a little monk who was probably in your age. Let's put it assumably around 6 or 7 years old, small novice monk. He lives at the temple with other monks, and he goes to school, to a normal secular school, to like you go to primary school. So when he goes to the school, he observed that every day his friends are being picked up by their parents, either father or mother. One day, maybe the mother comes to pick him up and drop him off at the school. And other time, his father comes, pick him up and drop off at the school also. And along with they also bring some food to eat also. And having seen this thing, and he feel very, very sad. And because he feels so sad, and this sometimes sadness generates some kind of mental agitation or being angry sometimes when you're sadness, not all the time, but occasionally. So he's sad, and he's also very angry to himself. And so one day he asked the abbot. The abbot is the head monk. Now, in the monastery, we have maybe 2 monks to 10 monks. So in that group of monks, there's always one leader. So leader is the abbot. So he told the abbot that he's very, very angry. And why he's angry is that all of my friends are being dropped off at the school and picked from the school by his parents. So where is my mom and where is my dad? And he's so mad, so angry that he wants to some kind of harm to the parents. He's so angry. Why I don't have my parents? Where are my parents? Where are my father? Where is my mother? I want them to drop him off at the temple, at the school. So what the abbot did is, so he holds this small novice monk, say, okay, come with me, come walk me. And then pick up one flowers from that. So at the entrance of the monastery, they have a small flowers. So pick up those flowers and then come with me. So this small novice who is 7 years old, so he pick up the flowers, and the abbot hold his hand like this hand, and then walk slowly by the premises of the temple of Vihar. So once there was a small 2 rocks by the giant tree within the inside of the monastery. So the abbot told him, come sit next to me. So this little novice sit next to him. Then the head monks asked the little novice, you have 2 eyes. Can you give me your 2 eyes? I will give you $1,000. And all the little children now, you can unmute if you want to answer. So I'm going to make the same question that Abbott made a small novice. So, will you give me your 2 eyes? I'll give you $1,000. Whoever wants to answer, yes or no, and then you can unmute also. Riona, will you give me your 2 eyes? I'll give you $1,000. Because I don't see other. I'm using my phone, so I can't see other names.
Yeah, no, I would only give like 1 eye.
Good, wonderful. That's it.
Because if I gave both of my eyes, then if you gave me the $1,000, then I can't take it because I can't see it then. But if you take 1 eye, I can still see the money and take it.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's exactly this little novice said to that Abbott, apparently his teacher. I cannot give my 2 eyes. If I give it away, I cannot see anything. I cannot talk in Zoom, or I cannot share my the PowerPoint with my friends. Anything, yeah. So then Abbott asks him again, will you give me your 2 hands? I'll give you $2,000. So I'm going to repeat the same question to all the children. Whoever wants to answer, yes or no, or you want to give, not give. So you can unmute yourself. Anyone wants to volunteer? Riona is shaking.
I would not want to give my 2 hands for $2,000 because even if I give away my hands, I won't really be able to like pick up the money or like use it because I don't have my hands.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. I don't know who answered this. I cannot scroll down my phone. But thank you so much. Yeah, so this little novice also exactly the same thing. If we give hand, you cannot draw, write, or play with your friends. So that the Abbot, the chief monk, and he goes asking question again. Will you give me your 2 legs? I'll give you maybe $1,000. Riona shaking her head. Anyone wants to volunteer? No. Yeah. Anyone? Yeah. So, Riona.
I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't get to walk and run with or play with my friends, or even walk to get the money like that.
Yes, exactly. So exactly this novice also told the monk that he doesn't want to give legs. Basically, if you give it away 2 legs, you cannot walk, you cannot play with your friends also. Basically, you are kind of on room. No one wants to give. If somebody give me even the whole universe to give my 2 legs, I don't think so I will give also. So now, where do you think 2 eyes, your 2 legs, your 2 hands, your hair, everything you own, your nose, your lips, your ear, everything comes from? Where do they come from? And everything comes from your parents. So you have the 2 eyes that you have, the 2 ears, 2 hands, 2 legs, lips, everything on your body, including your mind, the consciousness, everything because of your parents. So the chief monk, the abbot, told him that it is not whether you have your parents alive or now or no, but the important thing is the parents gave you everything. So why are you getting angry with your parents? We should not get angry with our parents, because you can see your friends, you can watch on YouTube, you can watch maybe Disney Plus, or you can watch all the beautiful channels, stories with your eyes. You are able to play, you are able to go to school, everything because of your parents. They may not be here, but because of them, you are here. And which is why we should be always grateful to our parents, to our mom and to our dad. And so the bottom line, this story is that this kid is an orphan. He doesn't have a parents. So in Asia, I don't know whether you know or no, I know some of the actual stories in Nepal and also in Africa and many other countries. That when the parents, when they were not able to raise the children, they usually drop off in front of the monastery. I think some of the old movies too in India, maybe 80s, 90s movies, I saw some of those stories, just leave somebody's house at the door so that they can be raised by the wealthy people or good people, etc. In Thailand, in Laos, they usually live right in front of the temple, so the monks usually adopt them and then raised in the temple. So this is the little boy, little novice that I was talking about. He was an orphan. So he understood the story, and he understood the what the abbot tries to say. As like you, everyone's in this room, especially all the kids. You are very, very intelligent. You are very you have a very perceptive. So you know whenever you read the stories. So this little kid, the novice, also once he was told by his abbot, he quickly understood, and out of his gratefulness and out of his gratitude, actually the flower he picked up from the entrance of the monastery, and he offered these flowers to the Buddha as a sign of respect, to gratitude. So I'm going to conclude in a few minutes. Need to go out to the ceremony also, and also for my lunch. So the four things that we have to pay respect is, they are like parents in our Buddhist tradition. They are the living God for us. And I'm telling you a story because a few days ago when I was in DC driving with a grandma, actually, with someone, and then she was not really happy because her son doesn't have enough time to spend with her mom. I could see her frustration also. And I could understand also the son's difficult position also, being a father of raising the three women at home, meaning his wife, his two kids, and then his grandma. So all of them are girls. So you imagine living a one man, three girls. So that's kind of tough for him too. And while he has to make money. So I understand the son context. At the same time, the grandma context also, I understand that why his son is not giving enough time for her, especially taking care of her. So I don't want to see also any of the members in our community also that the children are neglecting to their parents. And next week probably some of you already have probably know the stories also, what I'm going to tell about why should we take care of one of the Jatakas stories that have a beautiful the stories, the previous Bodhisattva, the Buddha, a person who wants to be Buddha, while he was perfecting his perfection, the paramita, on the way to achieving Buddhahood, he practiced taking care of the parents. So the parents are our living God, because everything you learn from also, all the principle, all the goodness, and everything from your parents, not just your body, your mind, everything you own. And because even you go to before school, the parents taught us how to eat, how to write, and everything from the parents. So we should be always grateful, and we should be always very respectful. Respect is very, very essential in the Buddhist teaching and also in the Buddhist community. So I want all my little friends just to be more little mindful, to be more respectful to your parents. Never shout or never you raise your voice also against your parents. Okay, whenever you're angry, just stay back, maybe for a few seconds, or maybe for 1 or 2 minutes, or maybe take 30 minutes, or maybe 1 hour, or even 2 hours if you're extreme frustration, angry, because those moment of reaction to anything is not good. This will eventually disappear. It will fall into the subject of impermanence. When you calm, then you can gently ask your parents anything that you want. And remember, the parents are always there to protect you, to love you, will give whatever you need, especially the parents from India that I know, they will give you everything. And I became a monk actually out of my respect, out of my gratitude for my father or for my parents. So the four qualities that we have to pay respect to parents is conviction, virtue, generosity, and discernment. So virtue is something that very important. You have to be very self-disciplined yourself. Of course, when you're self-disciplined, everybody loves it. If you're very practice of patience, modest, good behaviors, everybody loves it. So I want also all the children do the same thing to your parents. For today, I think that's it. And then what the Buddha said, that the two kinds of people who are very rare to find. So as a Buddhist, we should not make very rare to find. We should be more available, meaning to practice the active kindness and also to be grateful on everything. And if you can, also at least I do every evening. But if you can, also every week, maybe stay for 5 minutes, practice the meditation on gratefulness meditation also. And I will probably share a next weekend on this subject. Okay. Thank you. Good to see you all. I will see you next weekend. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante Revata. Sorry, I was on mute. It was a wonderful story. We still have 3 minutes. Do you want to take a couple of questions?
Yes. Yes, please.
Please go ahead, everyone, if you have any question.
It's not a question. It is my gratitude to you. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim. I was remembering my father, who was a primary school teacher and a farmer. And he was so much product. And he used to always tell, the quest for truthfulness is the way out. I found that the meaning of that in Mahabodhi. When I was taken to Goenkaji's presentation way back in 1988, and from that day till date, I'm so much thankful to you. Every day, I feel like remembering my father, who was telling you be grateful to yourself. In genetic and biology, they say phenotype and genotype. The phenotype is the physical. I mean, you see, parents are alive in us. Our elders are alive in us, both physically in the form of genetic codes and cultural and behavior. I'm thankful to you because I'm now 64, and the way you put it, probably it's a good lesson for us to appreciate our parents and heritage. Thank you very much, Bhante. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone?
Vandami Bhanteji. Myself, Dr. Ullas Chandilkar from India, from the small state Goa. Yeah. So thank you very much for that beautiful story, and a lot of things has been told that we carry everything from our parents. And today is the Mother Day. We really have to appreciate our parents for giving us this beautiful life. And then the first time actually I have learned gratefulness meditation. And thank you, Bhanteji, for this teaching this gratefulness meditation. And definitely, I think we can release a lot of our tensions by doing this meditation. Just going to our parents, going to all our actually relatives by saying gratefulness. Thank you, Vandami Bhanteji.
It is very true. Even the Buddha, after his enlightenment, after he went back to the Kapila Vastu to pay respect to the parents too, and so that paying respect means just not giving a physical expression, also the rescuing, giving some kind of healing, giving some kind of advices, of doing something that makes big differences in the society, and which is where the Buddha came back to see his parents. Otherwise, he could stay there. Where he was, very comfortable place. He had to walk, I don't know how many miles away from Bodh Gaya to all the way to the Kapila Vastu, to the Nepal. And also the Buddha also spent 7 days also meditating on gratefulness, the place where he was meditated, the place where he achieved enlightenment, the Sujata who offered the food to the Buddha, and everything. He spent 1 week as enjoying his gratefulness, being grateful, everything that made him to be the Buddha. Without those things, without those elements, the Siddhartha Gautama would never be the Buddha also. Anyone wants to share?
Yes, Banteji. Addition that, as we have already said, after having that kheer, so Sujata has requested, once we actually get that Buddhahood, please come and visit me. And for actually respecting Sujata, Tathagata actually went back to meet her. That also has been there actually in the Buddhism.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. Okay, then, because it's 11 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Banteji, Bante Revata. Hopefully, we'll see you next Sunday. Really appreciate your demo talk today.
Okay. Bye, little kids. Yeah, thank you. Next weekend, yeah, thank you. Or maybe if you have a time, also come join with us every to meditation also from 9 to 10. If you have a time. Okay,
sure,
thank you.
Definitely, Banteji. Thank you very much. So let's move on. Today we have a guest speaker, Dr. P.S. Kamble. Dr. Kamble is a professor of Department of Economics. He's a research guide at Shivaji University, Kolhapur, Maharashtra. He has a BA, BCom, MA, MCom, MPhil, and PhD from Shivaji University. He has published numerous papers and articles in conferences and seminars all over the world. He has also written 20 books on economics. So today he's going to talk about Ambedkar's view on economics. So please welcome Dr. Prakash Kamble.
Pradeep, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for organizing such a wonderful lecture. I listened to also previous activities, those were organized by this organization. The topic which is chosen for today's lecture, that is what is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's perspective over the Union Budget 21-22. In other words, we can say how we can assess Union Budget, Government of India Union Budget for 21-22 in the perspective of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. All of us know Dr. Ambedkar was highly educated and trained and skilled in economics. He was an economist of international repute. And majority of his research he carried out in America, that is Columbia, and also London School of Economics. At the same time, he also played a very important role in policy making in the pre-independence India as well. When he was a cabinet minister of labor, water and power resources during the period 1942 to 46. And it is against this background, before that also he published a very important research paper relating to what are the problems of India, relating to Indian agriculture and Indian economic development as well. And in this backdrop, it is of crucial importance to assess the Government of India budget that has been presented for the year 21-22. And that I am going to endeavor so far as today's my lecture is concerned. At the very outset, I am very much thankful to organizers, especially Professor, that is Sanjay, Pradeep, and all others. Dada Sahib is also there. And I am starting my lecture. Pradeep, I want to share my presentation. Can I go for presentation?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Yes, is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, yes, we can see that. Yeah.
Okay. Already I have mentioned that the topic of my today's lecture is Union Budget 21-22 in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's perspective, in the perspective of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. As far as my lecture is concerned, it is divided into 4 to 5 sections. Number 1 is introduction. Number 2 is what is theory of public budget? What is the theoretical backdrop of public budget? Section 3rd is what Dr. Ambedkar's perspective is there on public budget. What Dr. Ambedkar expected from public budget. What public budget should comply for. What public budget should attempt for. And before assessing Union Government of India budget for 21-22, it is necessary to take into account background of the Indian economy, and that background is socio-economic background. And when I refer to socio-economic background, that is what are the socio-economic challenges or the problems that Indian economy is facing recently or currently that requires to be taken into account. And unless and until socio-economic background is taken into account, we are not in a position to assess or evaluate or appraise any budget of the government of India or any state government might be. And it is therefore, first of all, I will try to place before you what socio-economic challenges or problems that Indian economy has been facing currently. And then I will try to place before you what the budget is there, what provisions are there in the budget for 21-22. And in last part, what changes are required when we try to assess budget of government of India for the year 21-22 in the perspective of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. And I have mentioned that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was a reputed economist, was a reputed policymaker. He has done a lot of work in public finance and lot of work. MA is there, PhD is there. All his research is devoted to public finance, is devoted to government finances, and it is therefore he is the authority who can speak on, or in the framework of that, we can assess budget of any government of India or any government from any country or maybe state governments as well. Now, what theory of public budget is? Actually, public budget, the word is derived from French word baguette, and its meaning is small leather bag. And its meaning is big, that bag, leather bag which is containing financial documents, that is known as public budget. So as to understand concept or meaning of the concept of public budget, one definition that I am trying to place before you that has been put before us by Renish Town. And he says it is a document containing of preliminary approved plan of public revenue and public expenditure. That is, budget is a plan of, it's a document containing a plan of public budget, that is public revenue and public expenditure, and the sum totality of that, the combination of that, it is known as public budget. There are two perspectives looking towards public budget. One is known as classical approach and another is known as modern approach. According to classical approach, Adam Smith was the pioneer of that classical approach. Public budget should be balanced. There should not be deficit in public budget because it increases unproductive expenditure and debt. And consequently, the government should carry out minimum activities like that police state functions. And the expenditure to be incurred by the government, that should be also minimal, that should be also limited one. And it is therefore the public budget should be either balanced or it should be a surplus budget. That was a classical approach looking towards the public budget and role of the government in the framework of public budget that is there. So far as modern perspective is concerned, Dalton was a prominent contributor to the modern approach towards the public budget. And he was of the opinion that it is not necessary that public budget should be always balanced. It can be unbalanced. More prominently, it can be a deficit budget because it can play a very important role in speeding up economic development as well as establishing and enhancing economic stability in the economy. And therefore, it's a means of redistribution of income and resources among the deprived communities or excluded groups. And for that reason, deficit can be there that can play an important role in employment generation, economic stability, revival from the depression, recession like that, and there is no need for a surplus budget like that. That is the modern approach looking towards the public budget. Now, what public budget is required, or what can be the purposes of public budget? When we adopt economic planning, when ours is a planned economy, then budget is very important. Within the speculated time period, when we have to realize our objectives and goals, in absence of public budget, rather it is difficult. So as to mobilize funds for the government and to bring about efficiency in the collection of funds by the government. Likewise, efficiency to be brought about in expenditure or spending activities, budget is of crucial importance. At the same time, what we achieved in the past and what is necessary to be achieved in the future, at present, that requires to be done with the help of public budget only. And in addition to that, it is helpful for us in maintaining economic stability, controlling cyclical fluctuations, and government's responsibility directed towards development and socio-economic welfare of the society as a whole. That can be reflected through the public budget, and therefore public budget is of crucial importance that is there. There are different categories or classifications of public budget. I will not go into that details. Traditional types are there, modern types are there. And in addition to that, there are different categories of deficit financing, deficit measures are there. I will not touch upon so far as the theoretical background is concerned. In brief, I will just place before you how the budget is being prepared in the country like us. All of us know public budget is a document. It is a constitutional document, because as per the constitution provisions, the budget is being prepared and it is endeavored to implement. Article 112 of the Constitution of India enables financial bill to be placed before the parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and when it is approved, it is ready for implementation. That provision is there in Article 112. Article 202 of the Constitution of India enables financial statement to be prepared and approved by the state governments, and it is to be implemented. Thus, public budget is a constitutional document. It is a constitutional plan to be prepared and implemented by the governments. In budget, there are three categories of accounts. One is consolidated fund account, another is contingency fund account, and one is public account. And all those are the parts and parcels of public budget. So far as the budget making process is concerned, budget is prepared by collecting estimates of revenue and expenditure. It has 3 years data or information, actual, revised, budgeted, and estimated. And when the budget is approved, when it is prepared and it is approved by Lok Sabha, that is Rajya Sabha, and Lok Sabha, that is Parliament at national level, it becomes a law, it becomes an act, and that is presented in the Parliament. Discussions take place, voting is being carried out, and the bill is passed, and that becomes a budget. It is a responsibility of the government and its ministries and departments to execute the budget, and that execution of the implementation of the budget starts. Now, for me, what is important is, what is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's perspective towards public budget? For your kind information, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was MA in Economics from Columbia University, PhD in Economics from Columbia University, and DLit in Economics from London School of Economics. His MA dissertation was in public finance. He did his research for MA on East India government finances. That is how revenue is there, how expenditure is there, how public budget is, public debt is being raised by the government, and how it is being utilized. What was the spending policy? What was the revenue policy of the government? The then government was there. For PhD, he studied provincial finance, how imperial finance was there, how provincial finance was there, how federal finance was required. Number of things he carried out for his PhD degree under the provincial finance. And for DSc, he worked on the problem of Ruti. In addition to that, already I have mentioned, during 1922 to 26, he was a cabinet minister of three departments, labor minister, water minister, and power minister as well. And he prepared a plan for the Indian economy and also implemented. In this backdrop, there is a need for what are the views of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar on the public budget. Within the framework of that, we are going to assess, we are going to examine how the budget is there. of the government of India for year 21-22. Now, Dr. Ambedkar was of the opinion that agriculture development should be given an important place because India is an agriculture country. But isolated, Indian agriculture has been facing number of problems. Small size is there, fragmentation of land is there, over dependence on agriculture as a source of livelihood is there, no investment is there, number of productivity is lower, number of problems are there. And that problem of agriculture development cannot be solved unless and until investment in agriculture is carried out. It is not that only land is helpful for us. In undertaking agriculture production, in addition to that, he takes a reference of law of variable proportions and return to scale, how other resources, how other inputs are also of crucial importance in carrying out production. And that is true in the case of agriculture as well. So isolatedly, agriculture development cannot take place. The use of other inputs in those resources is of crucial importance, and investment in agriculture is of greater importance. What Dr. Ambedkar suggests is industrialization required. Agriculture and industrial development should go hand in hand. And unless and until industrialization is carried out, rather it is impossible, rather it is difficult agriculture development. And therefore he says, industrialization is a remedy on agriculture development of India. There are a number of problems and challenges. Problem of subdivision is there, problem of fragmentation is there, problem of small size holding is there, productivity is there, excessive dependency, number of problems Indian agriculture has been facing. But industrialization can play a very important role in growth and development of the agriculture that he talks about. He has given his views in 1918. He published one research paper that is small holdings in India and their remedies. And in this research paper, he has given his thoughts. In 1947, he has published his very famous book, States and Minorities. And in States and Minorities also, he has talked about how the agriculture development can take place, how industrial development should be carried out, how the suitable type of economy for India, that is a mixed economy. All these details he has given in the States and Minorities. He has also talked about exclusion and discrimination. He has also talked about the role of government in industrial development and private sector as well, and how the status of industry should be given to agriculture. As the result of that, agriculture development and industrial development will go by hand in hand, and consequently that will help us in industrial development, agriculture development as well as. Now, Dr. Ambedkar says there is an urgent need for generating non-agriculture employment, because there is excessive dependence on agriculture as a source of livelihood. He has given a statistical data, and that statistical data that is 72% of the population of India depending upon agriculture, and it has no work at all. It is not contributing to agriculture production. Marginal productivity and production zero, and therefore he says there is a need for generating non-agriculture employment, and dependence on agriculture should be reduced. It should be eliminated. That he talks about. Then he talks about in 1947's famous book, States and Minorities, there is a need for giving social security to every citizen in India, every citizen of that country. And insurance can play a very important role in providing social security to the people of India, to citizens of India. And therefore he says, in this insurance, government can play a very vital role. Government can play a very crucial role, and there should be a monopoly of the government over insurance sector. Private players should not be there, so far as providing insurance services are concerned. And Dr. Ambedkar was also saying life insurance should be there, life insurance policy should be there of each and every citizen in the country, that provides social security, that provides security, that assures life, that assures security of life. And therefore, every person, every citizen of India should have life insurance policy. Then he says, in the States and Minorities, there should be control of all categories of inequalities. There should not be social inequalities. There should not be economic inequalities. There should not be political inequalities. All the inequalities, all categories of inequality should be eliminated, should be controlled. For that reason, there is a need for special efforts by the government, and government should play a very important role. Further, he says, attempts should be made for removal of poverty. because problem of poverty it's a shameful for the country. And therefore, removal of poverty, elimination of the poverty should be there. It is of crucial importance. And it is need of the hour to overcome the problem of unemployment. And for that reason, more importantly, non-agriculture employment generation is of crucial importance. It is of greater importance. And for that reason, efforts should be made to generate employment opportunities. As the result of that, the problem of unemployment can be tackled. There should not be any social exclusion, discrimination from the government to the staff, from the private factory owner to the employees which are working in the factory. That exclusion should not be there, discrimination should not be there, he talks about. Then he says industry plays a very important role, because he studied American economy during his study for MA and PhD as well. And he stated that industrial development is a proved remedy on development of the economy, on development of the agriculture as well. And therefore, he said industrial development should be given a very important place. Industrial development should be given a crucial importance in overall development of the economy. It will help us in development agriculture as well as it will also enable in realizing and achieving overall development of the economy as a whole. And therefore, he says industrial development should be given a more importance, should be given a crucial importance in the development of that economy. But this industrial development should comprise of public sector and private sector. Heavy industries, basic industries, important industries, their development, that role should be assigned to the government only. Those should be developed in the public sector only. And small industries, micro industries, village industries, cottage industries, their responsibility or their development responsibility should be assigned to the private sector. So there should be a combination of public sector and private sector. So far as industrial development is concerned, and industrial development is of crucial importance, it is of vital importance so far as development of the economy, development of the agriculture, and overall development of the economy as well. Then he has talked about education. He was of the opinion that primary education is necessary, but it is not sufficient and adequate. Higher education is very important. It can play a very important role in growth and development of the economy. And therefore, efforts should be made to develop higher education along with the primary education, because unless and until we take primary education, it's not possible for us to go for a higher education. And therefore, he says, primary is necessary but not sufficient. Higher education is very important. It is of crucial importance. And therefore, he says that educational development is the responsibility of the government, because education is a social service. Education is a public good. And therefore, the development of education is the sole responsibility of the government. That might be a central government, that might be a state government, or that might be local government, that doesn't matter. What category or what level of that government is. What matters is what role the government is playing in educational development. And therefore, he says it is the responsibility of the government so far as educational development is concerned. And for that reason, what is required? It is required a separate budget known as education budget. Education budget should be there, especially for deprived communities, socially deprived communities. Higher education can play a very crucial role. It can give decision-making or decisive authorities and powers to the socially deprived communities. And more seriously, socially deprived communities should take higher education. And higher education, they should give a very important place, very crucial importance place that Dr. Ambedkar was talking about. Now, while educational development, he says, development of higher education is the responsibility of state government and central government. Development of secondary education is the responsibility of state government. And development of primary education is the responsibility of both central government and state government. He also prefers foreign education, because foreign education can be superior in some areas like technology, like engineering, like medical, and therefore we should take help of higher education from the foreign countries or from the abroad as well. He says deprived community students, scheduled caste student, tribe, OBCs, other categories students, socially deprived communities, they should be sent to the foreign countries and they should take foreign education. Likewise, teachers, students from foreign countries also invited in India, and they should be also given chance of taking education in India as well. This exchange should take place between India and foreign countries about the education that he has also provided, that proposition, that thoughts he has expressed. Supplementary to that, what he says, India is a very diverted country. Even we say there is a diversity, unity in diversity. But Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was of the opinion that this is not realistic. It is very disintegrated. It is very decomposed. And therefore, this socially deprived community should be given representation. And here he talks about affirmative action. Here he talks about reservation. In states and minorities, he has used the term representation. Representation in proportion of population. And unless and until representation is given in proportion of population, the mainstream deprived communities will not be part and parcel of mainstream development activities. And therefore, they should be given representation. We call it as a reservation or affirmative action to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or other deprived communities. And in proportion of population that he says in the states and minorities. Then being a labor minister, he has done a lot of work on labor welfare. Number of acts he has enacted, number of facilities he has provided, number of working hours should be 8. There should be earned leaves, employment action, number of activities, number of decisions, number of policies Dr. Ambedkar has formulated as a labor minister when he was a labor minister during 1942 to 46 in the council's ministers, governors minister. Then he says, every citizen has a right to live. And it is the responsibility of the government to provide for survival. The government should possess certain proportion of the resources. And those resources should be utilized for the survival of the basic survival, minimum survival of the all citizens, especially from the deprived communities, because they don't have a means of livelihood, they don't have necessary resources. And in that direction, the effort should be made. Then he talks about federal finance system should be there. There should be central government, there should be state government, there should be local governments. And the provision of federal finance, because he did his PhD on provincial finance and federal finance. And he recommended that there is a need for finance commission. And as per the recommendation of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the finance commission has been incorporated by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in Constitution of India. And for every 5 years, finance commission is being appointed, and the recommendations of finance commission are accepted. Efforts are being made so as to implement. And he says the suitable public financial system for India is federal finance, central government, state government. And he made this provision of federal finance in the Constitution of India. And to maintain fiscal balance between the central government and state government, he recommended appointment of finance commission. And the provision was made in the Constitution of India. As per the provision, for every 5 years, finance commission is appointed. Now the 15th finance commission is in progress. The recommendations have been accepted and the implementation has been started. That is the contribution of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Then he talks about what should be the revenue policy, how the government should collect revenue which is required for discharging of the duties and responsibilities the government should discharge, and the provisions of the duties and responsibilities to be discharged by the central government, state governments have been made in the Constitution of India. And Dr. Ambedkar was the opinion that the government should collect revenue with the help of tax and non-tax sources in such a way that the productive activities will not be affected. Agriculture will not be heavily taxed. Industry sector will not be heavily taxed. That should happen. And that revenue policy should be accepted, adopted by the government. That is conducive for revenue mobilization to the government as well as development of the productive sectors like industry, like agriculture, and others are also there. Then he also talks about public expenditure policy. He said that public expenditure policy is suitable and appropriate, which is developmental, which speeds up, which enhances the growth and scope of development of the economy. And he was of the opinion that he has assessed how the public finances were there during the East India Company period in India. And he derived a conclusion that the public financial system, especially revenue mobilization and public expenditure policy, of the then government was not conducive for the growth and development of the economy. And therefore, he suggested that the proportion of development expenditure should be more. And prominently on public works, the government should spend more. That makes a difference. That plays a crucial role in speeding up and enhancing the levels of development of that economy. And that type of expenditure policy is required. He also talks about the government should play a very important role in social development, that is education, that is health, water supply, housing, like that. These are the views, these are the thoughts, these are the policies which Dr. Ambedkar has suggested about the public budget, about the public policies to be reflected in public budget. Now, before assessing Government of India budget for 21-22 in the perspective of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the background preparation is required. And that background is what is the present position of socioeconomic development of challenges before the Indian economy. Some of the problems, taking into consideration time constraint, some of the socioeconomic problems that I am trying to place before you, because that will help us in assessing what provisions are there in the Government of India budget for 21-22 and how it is in the direction of what Dr. Ambedkar talked about, or what is the framework of Dr. Ambedkar has given so far as public budget is concerned. Now, socioeconomic challenges with the Indian economy has been facing some of the challenges that I am trying to place before you. When the budget was presented for 21-22, India, our government is expecting GDP growth rate of India at the rate of 11%. That is real at constant prices. And nominal GDP that India expects is 15.4%. It is double digit. And this is for the reaching of the Indian economy to $5 trillion economy. $5 trillion economy. In the direction IMF and other institutions also have forecasted what should be the GDP growth rate of India. But one should remember that this background of the budget is corona pandemic, and which has been very hit hard to the Indian economy. Then this budget says that Indian economy will contract GDP of Indian economy in the year 2021 by 7.7%. And in the first half decade, the decline was by 15.7% in GDP. And in the second half of the year, the decline was 0.1%. Now, this budget says agriculture played a role in revival of the economy. Manufacturing sector, construction sector hit hard by the corona pandemic or lockdown policy that India adopted. In the first quarter of the year 21-22, GDP of India declined by 24%, 23.9% in the first quarter. And in the second quarter, it declined by 7.5%. The magnitude of decline in GDP little bit declined from 24% to 7.5%, but the growth was minus, growth was negative. A little bit improvement is observed in the Indian economy in the corona pandemic when we unlocked the Indian economy. That is, e-way bills improved, railway freight improved, GST collections improved, power consumption a little bit improved. Supplementary to that, credit to the marginal small and medium enterprises didn't reach to the extent required and desirable. That is also necessary to be taken into consideration. Now, the important thing that is that in the year 21-22, the growth of GDP, it was 3.4% in quarter 1 and quarter 2. Credit growth to agriculture and allied activities were not to the extent required and desirable. A little bit improvement was there, but not to the extent required and desirable. Credit to service sector declined very significantly. It declined very significantly. That is also necessary to be taken into account. But the problem of inflation was observed. Prices were rising. And that was basically food inflation prices of food items increased during the period 21-22 that is there. One thing is that exports increased and imports declined, and consequently there was a surplus of 3.1% in the first half year in the current account, or we can say trade account of India. But it is found that there was a decline in imports, and consequently, because a little bit increase in exports and significant decline in imports, a surplus was observed in the current account of India's balance of payments. External debt rose to 21.6%. Net foreign investment increased to $9.8 billion US. In addition to that, just agriculture was positive so far as growth is concerned, and industry and service sector was negative growth, registered negative growth. It was 9.6% for industry and 8.8% for service sector for the entire year 21-22. A little bit talking about social indicators of social development. This talks about how unemployment rate was growing. It was just 6.53% in January 21, which was basically 7.76 in February 20, which rose to 24% in April 20, in May 23, and little bit improvement is observed, but it is 6.53% in January 21, and recent figure for February 21, it was 6.2% for the nation. For urban areas, it was 8.1%, and for rural areas, 5%. According to economics theory, 3% rate of unemployment is affordable. It is sustainable. It can be a natural unemployment rate. It can take place because of changes in policies and technological changes. But 10%, 6%, it is excessive. And we have young population. APJ Abdul Kalam, ex-president of India, was talking about demographic dividend. We have more than 62% young population in the age group 15 to 29. And it is engine of growth, but unfortunately, we didn't make productive use of that human resource that is there. This talks about how across these states, unemployment rate is there. For Bihar, it is 10.5%. For Delhi, it was 12.5%. For Goa, it is 16%. For Haryana, it is 17.7%. For Jammu Kashmir, it is 21.9%. For Tripura, it is 18%. Huge or higher levels of unemployment is there. Unfortunately, the problem of inequality is significantly higher in the country like us. Take example, top 10% income share rose from 30% to 56% during the period 1980s to 29 in the country like us. China is also having inequality, but the extent of inequality in China is a little bit lower than that of India. Further, Oxfam gave report in 2017. And as per Oxfam report, 73% households have 1% richest household have possessed a 73% share in the wealth of India. And only remaining, that is 99% households have possessed only 1% share in the wealth of India that is there. One more report that is recent position is that 119 billionaires are there in India, and the number rose from 9 to 101. Again, one report was given by Oxfam in 2018, and that report says Gini coefficient of wealth is increasing continuously. In 2008, the share in the top families was 81.2%. It further rose to 85% in 2018. In last 12 months, India's wealth rose by 151 billion US dollars. And top 1% families have possessed 39% share in the total wealth. But bottom 50% household have possessed only 3% share in the wealth that is generated. During this Corona pandemic year, that is 2021 also, 18 new billionaires have been emerged out, and their wealth and income is generated in billions of US dollars economy, billions of Indian rupee, that figures are there. Supplementary to that, one more figure which is necessary to be placed before us. The total wealth of Indian billionaires is higher than the union budget of India. Higher than the union budget of India, and the figures are here. In last 12 months, wealth of India has increased 119 Indian billions wealth, and that stood at 8,022 billion US dollars in the last year. Such a significant growth in the wealth has been taken place. But unfortunately, we have a very intensive problem of poverty. And according to United Nations, 28% share of poor people are there in the total population. 2/3 of the Indian population is living in poverty. And 69% population in India lives on less than $2 US per day per capita. Over 30% and more, less than that, that is 1.25 US dollar per day, is the 30% population is enjoying its life in per day per capita expenditure. That is just 1.25 US dollar per day. That is extremely poor. In 2014, C. Rangarajan Committee defined a poverty line and how it is inadequate, how it is not realistic, that we can get idea. According to the C. Rangarajan Committee, urban people per day per capita getting rupees 47 is above the poverty line. And in rural areas, it is the 32 rupees per day per capita. You can make a comparison whether it's possible to survive by a person with the help of 47 rupees per day per capita in cities and metropolitan areas, and 32 rupees in villages and semi-urban areas. That is very, very, very shorter, very, very narrow, very inadequate poverty line. Even this is taken into account. What I tried to place before you, the magnitude and intensity of the poverty line is, poverty is very intensive, very significant. During Corona pandemic, because of lockdown and because of a significant fall in unemployment, employment and increase in unemployment, addition in millions of people, crores of people have been added in the poverty in India that is there. Supplementary to that, it is found that about 800 million people have been added in poverty. And in addition to that, 1.4 billion children die less than 5th year. That is, we can say child mortality is also significantly greater. Malnutrition is a problem. India stands world's top countries when it comes to malnutrition. 200 million people do not have sufficient access to food. 61 million children are there. 7.8 million infants are having weight less than 2.5 kilograms. Supplementary to that, even we have child labor is prohibited. 12.5 million children are working in the age group 5 and 14. That is as a child labor. Supplementary to that, we can also found that child marriages are being practiced, and according to Lancet report, Lancet journal published, 44% of the girl marriages are under the adult age or less than the adult age that is there. Supplementary to that, what role the government plays in social service or social sector development. If a few services are taken into account, just education and health, you will get an idea that central government and state government only spend 3% of GDP on education, all education. It is not just higher education. And on health, it is 1.5% of GDP. Thus, inadequate, very, very, very limited spending is there. This also talks about how expenditure is lower on education and health also. Now, consequently, what is the position of higher education in India or education in general in India? That also requires to be taken into consideration. If gross enrollment ratio on higher education is taken into account, for primary, for male it is 94, and for female it is 85. That is, the gap is there. But dropout rate is 6% for male, 6.3, and female 6.4%. For higher education, it is 26% gross enrollment ratio for male and 25% gross enrollment ratio for female, and dropout rate is not available. But this higher education in India is prominently dominated to undergraduate level. It is 79%. And post-graduation level, it is just 12%. And participation in research, it is just 1%. Supplementary to that, there is a significantly higher unemployment rate. Already I have cited the data. Health status is not up to the mark. 60% deliveries take place in institutions, means remaining are prominently in houses. Anemia is a problem among 50% pregnant women in India. And in World Health Coverage Index, of 190 countries, India ranks 143. Only 46% households are getting water within campus, and 43% families get tap water, and 50% families have toilet within campus. When multi-dimensional poverty index is taken into account, given by the World Development Report, World Development Bank, it is found that 55% of the population of India is suffering from the multi-dimensional poverty that is there. In this backdrop, it is necessary to take into account what provisions are there in public budget and what changes are required when we want public budget 21-22 in the framework of government Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, in the perspective of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, that is there. Now, the public budget, Government of India budget for 21-22 has in all 6 parts. One is health and well-being, physical, financial, capital and infrastructure, inclusive development, aspirational India, rejuvenating human capital, innovation and research development, and minimum government and maximum governance. Yes, in this budget, health has given important place. Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swadesh Bharat Yojana will be started, for which 64,180 crores have been allotted for 6 years. In addition to previous National Health Mission, government is going to support 17,788 rural institutions and 11,024 urban health and wellness centers. Government is desirous to set up integrated public health laboratories in all districts and in 3,382 blocks in 11 states. It is desirous to set up core hospital blocks in 602 districts and 12 central institutions. Government is desirous to set up National Center for Disease Control. Thus, there are provisions for health sector that is there. And number of provisions are there. Just I'm citing some of the importance that is there. Supplementary to that, what is important is some nutritional attention has been also paid in this budget. Mission Poshan scheme the government is going to implement. Then universal coverage of water supply, especially in urban areas, urban local bodies, and waste management, liquid waste management through Amrut, the government is going to set up. And for health and well-being, the government is going to spend 2,87,000 crore rupees in coming 5 years. That provision is there. So for health sector, it is good. Swachh Bharat is there, Swasth Bharat is there, and the government is going to spend on in significant amount on health sector, because Corona pandemic has showed that health sector of India is very weak. Number of weaknesses and shortcomings are there, and that attention has been paid towards the health sector that is there. But when the second wave is there and it has become intensive, but here it is found that to that extent we didn't provide health sector development, and consequently at this moment health sector of India has been just destroyed. It has just been collapsed. That is the present position in the second wave of COVID-19 that is there. In this budget, the government has made a provision for vaccine, that is pneumococcal vaccine, and for COVID vaccine, it has provided 35,000 crore rupees. That is also one of the very important. But to summarize, there is a significant provision towards the health sector because health sector was collapsed, and consequently, that attention has been paid by the government in this budget. Supplementary to that, it has paid attention towards infrastructure development. That Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme the government is going to implement, production linked incentive scheme, and that is for 13 sectors. And through that, it is going to provide incentives for the development. It is going to set up mega investment textile parks in seven textile parks the government is going to set up in coming 3 years. Some infrastructure development projects the government has proposed, especially national infrastructure pipeline, then projects for road development, projects for then HPCL. Those are some infrastructure development plans, programs the government has proposed in this budget for 21-22. In this budget, the very important provision that is there, that is asset monetization. The government is going to sell assets of some of the public sector undertakings, and government is going to mobilize revenue. And prominently, National Highway Authority of India, transmission assets of PGCIL, oil and gas pipeline GIL, then railway infrastructure, warehousing infrastructure, then NAFED infrastructure, sports stadiums. The government is going to monetize assets to mobilize the revenue. Supplementary to that, government has provided capital budget, capital expenditure, especially in this budget. That is also one of the provisions. For road and infrastructure development, that is the government is going to increase construction of roads, that is the economic corridors. And these corridors are in Tamil Nadu state, that is Madurai Kollam corridor, Chittoor Thatcher corridor. In Kerala, some road construction corridors the government is going to adopt. Then in West Bengal, the government is going to develop some roads. National highway in Assam, the government is going to also carry out. And also in other states also, the government is going to continue highway and road development so far as infrastructure development is concerned. In addition to that, freight corridor, then broad gauge kilometers, the government is going to electrify railway. Then passenger convenience and safety measures the government is going to implement. And for railway, in this budget, the government has provided 1,10,054 crore rupees in this budget. And previously, from that, for capital expenditure, 1,07,100 crore rupees has been allotted. The government is going to speed up metro. That is, the metro is especially in private and public PPP model. Also, 22 buses, 20,000 buses, the government is going to start through public-private models. Metro work is going on already; it is there. That will be continued. That is Kochi Metro, Chennai Metro, Bangalore Metro, and Nagpur Metro. And for this metro development, for metro expansion, some of the provisions have been made in the budget for 21-22. Thus, to summarize, the provisions for infrastructure development are appreciable. That requires to be taken into consideration so far as the budget. This budget is to be taken into account. Supplementary to that, while talking about budget, some financial provisions, some reforms in financial sector, banking sector, the government has proposed, and especially for environmental preservation, conservation, especially for non-conventional energy development, some provision have been made in this budget for the development of solar energy, 1,000 crore rupees, that is through Indian Railway Energy Development Agency. The government is going to develop solar energy, that is renewable energy, that is also necessary to be taken into account. Supplementary to that, the government is going to recapitalize public sector banks. And for the recapitalization of public sector banks, it has provided 20,000 crore rupees in the budget 21-22. Then deposit insurance scheme, the limit has been increased from 1 lakh to 5 lakh, and that limit has been increased previously, not in this year. It has changed the definition of company. And in this company, small companies have been also provided freedom to start companies a one-person company, one person also can start a company in India. That provision is there. Supplementary to that, the peculiarity of this budget is that the government has given more importance to the disinvestment. And this disinvestment is strategic sale. That is of BPCL, Air India, Shipping Corporation of India, then IDBI, then Pawan House, Nilachal, Ispat Nigam. These are the strategic in the context of which this investment will take place. But in supplementary to that, the government is going to privatize IDBI, one national bank. In addition to that, it is going to privatize 2 national banks. But now government has declared all national banks will be privatized. Government has declared. And General Insurance Corporation, along with LIC, Life Insurance Corporation, the government is going to privatize that provision also. Their privatization has given more importance so far as this budget is concerned. And from this investment, in the budget 21-22, the government desires to collect 1,75,000 crores rupees from this investment, and that provision is there in this budget. Supplementary to that, some provisions have been made for agriculture development, that is credit supply, rural infrastructure development. Credit target for agriculture is 16.5 lakh crores. But direct investment in agriculture is not there. Just it has made a provision to supply credit and not the government investment. Rural infrastructure development, the government is going to carry out. And for that reason, provision of 40,000 crore rupees have been made. Previously, it was 30,000 crores. Micro irrigation fund through NABARD, the government is going to double to 10,000 crore rupees. That provision, that is micro irrigation projects through NABARD, the government is going to develop. Supplementary to that, the government is going to create Operation Green Scheme, and 22 perishable products the government is going to develop. 1,000 mandis are going to integrate with INAM, and the government is going to give infrastructure fund to APMCs, agriculture prices and marketing committees. Some efforts have been made to develop fishery resources, and 5 major fishing harbors the government is going to carry out in Kochi, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, Pradeep, etc. In addition to that, the very important provision in this budget is government has brought about labor reforms. All labor acts previously there have been converted, have been merged into 4 labor codes, and the government is going to implement these 4 labor codes. And these 4 labor codes deprive number of social securities to the labor, number of facilities to the labor. Those 4 labor codes are there, and government is going to implement. Supplementary to that, what is required to be taken into consideration is the government is going to provide some credit supply to stand-up activities in India, and marginal small and medium enterprises. Some provisions have been made, especially 15,700 crores to the micro, small and medium enterprises. That provision is made by the government. Education is very important. Human resource development is very part of this budget, which is necessary to be taken into account. The government is going to implement new education policy or national education policy. And the part of that is 15,000 schools the government is going to strengthen their quality. And 100 new Sainik schools the government is going to set up. But those to be with the partnership of non-governmental organizations and private sector. So far as the higher education is concerned, government is going to set up Higher Education Commission in India, and the government has proposed to start a Central University in Leh, Ladakh. So far as welfare of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is concerned, only 750 Eklavya model resident school in tribal areas the government is going to set up, and unit cost of schools is going to increase from 20 crores to 38 crores. That provision is there, and post-matric scholarship, just it is continued. That only provision is there in the context of scheduled caste that is necessary to be taken into account. In other provisions, the government is going to provide for apprentice and training program. The government is going to carry out some collaborative activities with the help of foreign countries so far as skill and entrepreneurship development is concerned. In addition to that, government is going to set up National Research Foundation for the research development in India. Digital transactions government is going to promote, for which 15,000 crores provision has been made. And in supplementary to that, some other activities that government has tried to carry out. Some provisions related.
Sir Kamble, sorry to interrupt,
yes,
but we are actually running out of time. Yeah,
I'm going towards last part of my presentation.
Sure, thank you.
Some of the very important provisions the government has made, provisions relating to direct taxes, indirect taxes, that is there. Last part of my lecture is very important. When we take into account provisions in the government of budget, Union Government of India budget for 21-22, already I have mentioned the provisions in the backdrop of socio-economic development of India or socio-economic challenges before the Indian economy. In Dr. B.R. Ambedkar perspective, already I have tried to place before you what was the perspective of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar looking towards the public budget, what provisions Dr. Ambedkar was expecting. In this framework, when we assess, when we examine Government of India budget for 21-22, radical changes or number of provisions and revisions are expected. What provisions are necessary so as to make the public budget for 21-22 in the perspective of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar? Number one, industrial development should be given more importance to speed up and revival of the economic growth of India, and that attention has not been paid. Agriculture development is possible then and then only when industrial development will be carried out. And there is a need for reducing overburdened agriculture. For that, non-agriculture industrial development and employment generation is very much necessary, and that provision is required. Growth policy, development policy, and industrial development policy should be pro-employment, because we have a very intensive problem of unemployment, and Corona pandemic has intensified that problem. There is a need for extensifying and intensifying Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Program for providing an employment opportunity, so that we will be in a position to restrict at least some unemployment that is there. Urgent measures are necessary to be introduced and implemented to control inequality and poverty. Because in the Corona pandemic, already I have cited data. In Corona pandemic also, significant increase in inequality and poverty has taken place in the country like us. And it is urgent need of the hour to control for economic inequality and poverty. In the perspective of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he has mentioned in the states and minorities, and for realizing sustainable development goals also, there is a need for controlling inequality and poverty. These measures are necessary to be incorporated. At global level, universal basic income scheme is being implemented because every citizen has a right to survive. And for that reason, government should make a provision, and universal basic income scheme should be implemented so that every citizen in India can survive at minimum level at least. There is a need for identifying black money and its utilization for growth and development of the economy. That measures are necessary to be incorporated, and no measures are there to reduce and control inequalities. Those are there. Development policy should be centered at rural and semi-urban centers, so that a diversification of the development and growth that can take place. Expenditure on education is very necessary to be enhanced. It is just 3% of the GDP, less than 4% of the GDP. In 1966, Kotaraya Commission suggested it should be at least 6% of GDP. But this year or recently, it is just 4% of the GDP. And significant increase on education, expenditure on education as well as health is very much necessary, and that provision is necessary to be incorporated in public budget. There is a need for controlling and monitoring of private sectors in health sector, because health sector, public health sector, still this moment in India is weak, and a number of shortcomings and weaknesses are there. The attention which is required to be paid, that has not been given, and now it is urgent need of the hour to strengthen public health sector and monitor and regulate private health sector. That is necessary. Provision on welfare of the deprived communities, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, minorities, that is very, and women and children, that is very inadequate. And more prominently, division and deviation of the funds take place. So all provision is necessary to be increased. In addition to that, all provided should be spent on welfare of the deprived communities and women and children. that is there. India is moving towards a capitalist economy, free market economy, and that is not expected by the Constitution and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar as well. We want a mixed economy. It is there in the Constitution, and we are moving towards privatization, capitalist economy. We should maintain mixed economy, and in that direction, provisions in the budget are very much necessary. We are privatizing insurance sector. Foreign direct investment up to 77% has been permitted, and number of private players are playing a role in insurance sector. Dr. Ambedkar was of the opinion that there is a need for monopoly of government, and every citizen should have a life insurance policy. But privatization is rapid. Foreign players are coming very rapidly, and that will not serve the purpose of providing social security, especially to the socially deprived communities. And insurance sector should be provided, it should be controlled, and government should play a very important role. Instead of privatizing life insurance corporation, general insurance corporation, the government should increase public sector in health. Supplementary to that, health and education policy should be made more realistic. It is just privatizing health and education. It is not conducive for the country like us, in which socioeconomic inequalities are, poverty is significantly higher, that is there, and welfare of the deprived communities should be given a very important place. In that direction, no efforts have been made so far as this budget is concerned. Thus, when we assess Government of India budget for 21-22, it is just deviating from what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar expected from the public budget that is there. Industrial development is necessary, welfare of the deprived communities is necessary, so education and health should be given status of social services, insurance should be given a status of monopoly of the government, domination of the public sector, employment generation should be given more importance, and inequalities control and control of the poverty should be given more importance. But in that direction, no efforts have been made in the budget for 21-22. So it is deviating from what Dr. Ambedkar expected, what Dr. Ambedkar proposed from the public budget. So there is a need for correcting this budget, revising the budget in the framework and direction that I tried to place before you. If in that direction the efforts will be made, I am of the opinion that the budget will be what Dr. Ambedkar was expecting so far as socio-economic development, social welfare maximization, and more prominently equity and justice to the deprived communities in the country like us. These are the things which are necessary to be taken into consideration so far as assessing budget of the Government of India for the year 21-22 that is there. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all for patient listening. Thank you. Over to you, Pradeep.
Thank you, Professor Kamble. Please go ahead if you have any questions.
Yeah, Pradeep Satynath ji has raised the hand.
I think somebody raised a hand. Sati
Yeah,
Edge, please go ahead. Ask your question.
Yes, most welcome, most welcome. Most welcome.
Satynath ji, you are on mute.
Most welcome. Anybody, any question is most welcome.
I think if I am accessible, I
Yes. Go ahead.
Professor, thank you very much. It was a marathon presentation. Ultimately, what you said is valid and useful. I am of the opinion that there are three things missed out in the budget. That is, enabling the community to take care of its environment. That was the 1992 Rio Summit Declaration.
Yes.
70, our constitutional amendment of Nagarpalika and Panchayat Raj of the 1992. See, these two things are derailed.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Just I will respond to Professor JV, sir.
JV, I'll complete to two more points, then you can answer.
Okay. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I'll repeat again. First one, the Rio Declaration, which was a summation of the best possible in the developmental strategy, which Dr. Ambedkar would have appreciated, that is enabling community to take the constitution amendments of 1992, Nagarpalika and Panchayat Raj, which again strengthened this community enabling. This point is out. This point. Second point is, you look at about $800 billion black money in India.
Yes.
Where is it? It is from a beggar to a billionaire, all unaccounted. See, there is no mention of successive economists and experts, professors, academicians, not to talk about this black money, how it is getting into the system. And the last point, the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, take case by case. If you take what is happening to a middle class scheduled caste personnel when he puts his daughter or son abroad for education, see, none of them will come back to India. There is no support practically available. Between the states, there is such a big difference. In Maharashtra, there is one policy. In Karnataka, there is one policy. There is no uniform policy of promoting scheduled caste and scheduled tribe children for going abroad. Everybody goes with loan. And I have come across one case where the boy has gone abroad and the universities are denying any financial support. And his father is a scientist at CFTRI. He has to go for additional loan, putting tens of lakhs of rupees loan in his career. See, this is not social justice. Kindly consider these points and let there be ANA be a hub for to give a right fitting reply. Because in Buddhism, we don't have Atma. Atman Nirbhar kya hota hai? And kiska Atma kaun nirbhar kar raha hai? These are the simple questions anybody would ask if he is seriously committed for Jai Bhim and Namo Buddhaya. Thank you very much, sir. Please.
Thank you very much for raising very important questions. First of all, I will respond to what 73-74 constitutional amendment took place relating to local governments. And you are absolutely right, sir. There is no any provision to strengthen these local bodies, village, that rural local bodies and urban local bodies. No provision is there in this budget. But what has happened because of this GST, goods and services tax, at this moment, local bodies have no source of revenue. OPTRA have been abolished, entry tax have been abolished, and those are suffering from revenue mobilization. They are not in a position to discharge their duties and responsibilities. That's a ground reality. In this budget, it was expected to make some provisions, but that is not there. And you are absolutely right. I also mentioned in this lecture that black money has not been touched upon. Even there is no reference of black money, this amount is there. I have suggested that exploitation of black money is required and it is to be incorporated as a revenue for the public budget. And unless and until in that direction the efforts are being made, what use of this black money can be made? That is a $1 million question that arises. And therefore, what is required? There is a need for that trapping that black money and utilizing for welfare of the society, justice for the society. And the last question, when that of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe students come into foreign countries and they do not return back because in India at this moment there is no any guarantee of getting employment opportunities. Privatization is more. And in public sector, there is no employment opportunities. And in this budget, no reference of the government recruitment is there. And all posts are being abolished and consequently affirmative action, we call it as a representation. This representation policy is more or less has become defunct. And consequently, because of no security of employment opportunities, the student scholars from these deprived communities are not returning back. That's a ground reality. What Dr. Ambedkar was saying, that they should be given foreign education and employment opportunity should be provided. But the reservation policy has been sacrificed, it has been victimized, and de-reservation policy and no recruitment is there. Take example for UPSC competitive examination is being carried out, but at this moment, some as per the opinions of the government, authorities of the government or ministries, some recruitment is taking place by backdoor entries there. This is happening, and it is therefore the deprived community students, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, they are not returning back to India because no guarantee of government employment that is there. And in private sector, this deprivation is significantly higher. One of the studies was carried out by Sukhdev Thorat and one of the research scholar in Dalit Institute of Dalit Studies. And in private sector, a very significant discrimination, exclusion is there at this moment also. And that's a big challenge for the socially deprived communities that is there. Pradeep, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Kamble.
Yes.
I think Mr. Sati was trying to ask a question.
Yeah, I can hear it now.
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead with your question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have particularly one question. I have heard of various estimates of poverty In some places, poverty is supposed to be 30%. Then another place you say 70% people are living in poverty. Then another place I had seen somewhere that 90% or more than 90% of the people have, or of the families have less than 10,000 rupees per month of income. 10,000 rupees for a family of 4, doesn't that appear to be poverty? And their number is something like 90% or more than 90% of the population. So what is this? Can you please explain all these things about it?
Very important question that, sir, you have asked. I also tried to touch upon to this particular issue in my lecture. Basically, in India, poverty line is very inadequate. C. Rangarajan Committee has recently defined poverty line. And as per C. Rangarajan Committee, a person getting 47 rupees per day per capita in urban areas, cities and metropolitan cities is above the poverty line. And person getting 37 rupees in rural area, village, he is above the poverty line. At international level, $2 American per day per capita is poverty line. So you can estimate a difference. That difference is there. Even that is taken into account. Billions of the crores of people are in poverty. During this corona pandemic, the magnitude of poverty has significantly increased because no employment because of lockdown, no employment opportunities, all have been shut down. And very significant, 24% was the rate of unemployment in April, May 2020. And consequently, poverty increasing. One more figure I want to place before you. Multi-dimensional poverty index was calculated by World Development Bank in this World Development Report. And as per the multi-dimensional poverty index, 55% of the population in India is below the poverty line. 55%. If that is taken into account, in India, poverty has been not taken seriously. Take example, in Mumbai, in Goa, in Pune, 47 rupees a person cannot survive. But that is the poverty line. It is very inadequate. And even that is taken into account, poverty is very intensive. And if we try to make a comparison of the poverty line with the international, that is $2 American per day per capita, the magnitude and intensity, gravity of the poverty is significantly higher. And poverty has not been paid that attention which is required in the country like us. And prominently, socially deprived communities are the victims of poverty and the unemployment that is there. That is also ground reality, because in informal sector, majority of the people are working from the deprived communities, from the poor strata of the society. That's also ground reality we should take into account. Pradeep, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Kamble. So, considering the time constraint, we will just take the last question. Please go ahead if you have anybody has a question.
Vasnik sir want to ask. He has raised his hand.
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Vasnik.
Dr. Vasnik just retired from the Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India as Additional Commissioner. And I'm staying in Delhi only. I'm also agriculture economist, and as you said, I have also written one book on poverty, that is the Lost People, Analysis of Indian Poverty. As you said, as per that Ranganathan report, the $2, he can only survive, What about his education? What about his shelter? What about his future of the kids? Nothing, I don't know. Whether those who have submitted the report, if you ask, he only continue with this budget for 1 month only, and see that whether they can continue. So this is really, it's very, I don't have word to express it. Another is regarding agriculture. As you rightly said, there is a need to have a direct investment in agriculture. Whatever the credit and all this is an ongoing scheme, Government only figure out that. Otherwise, the budget requirement, credit, bank and societies are giving is not new thing. They have only compiled the figure and given out. In rural area, there is a tremendous scope for development of infrastructure like market, and storage, because whatever the marketable surplus is there, so they don't have the, because of the distress sale. Why there is distress sale? Because there is no storage facility. So whatever I harvest, I have to go to the market to sell it. So that is, these are 2 or 3 pertinent. I'm not raising the question. I'm just supplementing what you said. Thank you.
Sir, for your kind information, poverty line in India is not $2 American per day capita. It is international poverty line. In India, this C. Rangarajan committee has defined poverty line as 47 rupees per day per capita in urban area and 37 rupees in village or rural area. It's very inadequate. It's very lesser than even at international level. And it has made a very significant difference, and consequently, even that is taken into account, 47 and 37 rupees, the intensity of poverty is significantly higher, because majority of poor are working in informal sector. 90% is informal employment. And so far as investment in agriculture is concerned, you are rightly saying that it is just credit supply estimates. Whether it is being supplied, it is being demanded by the farmer, that makes a difference. And government investment in agriculture is very limited. It is significantly falling and it is decreasing. And therefore, to that extent, agriculture development is not taking place, which is desirable and expected, because now also 60% population is depending upon agriculture as a source of livelihood. But government is not making investment in agriculture. This private sector and credit supply and credit plan is there. Direct investment is not there. A little bit investment takes place from private sector only. It is little bit only. But government is withering away from the agriculture development so far as investment is concerned. And that is also one of the very responsible causes. So far as to the extent desirable required, agriculture development has not been taken place. Dr. Ambedkar was of the opinion that agriculture should be given a status of industry. Consequently, investment will increase, use of other resources will increase, and consequently, agriculture development, industry development, and overall development of the economy as a whole, that will take place. That was the proposition of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. But we have not listened to him, and agriculture was privatized. No industry sector status was given, and to that extent, no investment is being carried out. Especially, government is withering away from investment in agriculture. That's the ground reality.
In my book, that's Revolution of Agriculture. In that, I have indicated that in future, maybe after 50 years or 100 years, entire Indian agriculture will be a corporate agriculture. All marginalized and small farmers will be wiped out from the scene.
It is a recent phenomenon. You might have heard of farmers' agitations. More than 2-3 months have been completed. That is for agriculture reforms. Those are agriculture codes. And these agriculture codes agriculture laws are just converting Indian agriculture into corporate farming and contract farming. And there is a dismantling of this agriculture, that fair prices that is there. That prices are being determined by Agriculture Cost Commission. That is dismantling, and agriculture prices and marketing committees are going to dismantle. Therefore, agitation is going on the border of Delhi more than 2-3 months. But the government is not paying attention, and it is not solving that problem. Number of deaths took place. Rainy season was there, winter was there, and corona pandemic is significantly higher there on the border of Delhi. But the government is not paying attention. 3 laws are there in the name of agriculture reforms. Of the total pages 45. But the government is not going, it is not in a position to tackle what problems Indian farmers are facing. What I want to propose is that what Dr. Ambedkar talked about agriculture, the provisions that can help us in development of agriculture, and what problems Indian farmers are facing, those can be tackled with the suggestions and policies which Dr. Ambedkar has suggested. That is my honest proposition.
Thank you.
Over to you, Pradeep.
Thank you very much, Professor Kamble. So I think we will conclude today's session. It was a wonderful talk, Professor Kamble, and pleasure to have you today. Hopefully, we will have more sessions in future from you. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. We will continue next Sunday, and we'll have a session same time, 10 a.m. Sunday morning. Till then, bye-bye. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night.
Prakash ji. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.